If you want to feel good, cognitive psychology tells us that our thoughts control the way we feel. And then if you have more positive thoughts, if you gain control over your thinking process, then you will feel better. This is the fundamental principle of cognitive psychology, and is a true principle. It is true that if you gain control over your thinking and remove from your thinking negative, distorted ideas, you will feel happier. I'm not saying that you are going to be in ecstasis. I'm just saying you will feel happier and healthier. However, this principle from cognitive psychology, which is the foundation of this discipline, the most successful psychotherapy nowadays, practiced by most therapists in the United States, this principle leads to the next question. The next question is, if my thinking is controlling my emotions, what is controlling my thinking? And unfortunately, Western psychology has not dealt properly with this question. So if you want to find a meaningful and practical answer, you need to look into Buddhism. And Buddhism gives us a practical and truthful answer, which is the following. Your wants control your thinking, your motivations. And it's pretty obvious. You think about what you want, and also what you don't want, which is an aversion, right? So your likes and dislikes, wants and aversions, are to a great degree controlling your thinking. So if you gain control over this force of the psyche, your motivations, your wants, your desires, your goals, your expectations, different words for basically the same force in the psyche. What motivates you, right? If you gain control over that, then you gain control over your thinking, and perhaps your mind becomes more quiet. Not only your thoughts become more positive, but also more quiet. So, once this is understood, the next logical question for anyone that has developed a sense of practicality in life is, okay, and how do I do it? How do I begin to gain control over this psychic force, which is my wants, my likes and dislikes? And ADVAITA gives us an answer that is quite valuable too, which is, you use pointers. pointers to what? Pointers that lead to acceptance. Why? Because acceptance is the opposite of wanting. When we want something, usually is in opposition with what is already. But if we don't want anything and we are in a state of acceptance of what is, we don't want anything, then we're at peace. And the mind gets quiet, at least much more quiet. And our emotions become peaceful. So here are some pointers. First, use the word yes. Yes to what? Yes to what is. So you practice this yes in life. Yes to this moment as it is. And what is the effect of that yes? Relaxation and a more peaceful state. That yes to what is leads to a state of, I would say, alpha waves in the brain instead of the beta waves that are like being in a treadmill and create tension. Alpha waves are much more peaceful and enjoyable. Another pointer is, it is what it is. Yes, it is what it is. It's really helpful. Another pointer, more from the bhakti path, is thy will be done. In the bhakti path, you learn that everything happens by the will of God. And then thy will be done means whatever is happening in the present moment, which is the will of God, is accepted. You're not in conflict with it. You're not resisting. Similar is as thy will. Now, a fair question is, well, if I never resist anything, if I never say no to what's going on in the present moment, something is going to go wrong. And you're right. Quite a few things, in fact. Because resisting is part of life. So, for example, if somebody attacks you physically or verbally, the appropriate response might be to resist. And then, how do you accept the present moment? Well, it's simple. You accept what is. You accept that that situation calls for resisting. So you accept the resistance. Same thing in regard to temptations. Let's say you are trying to overcome a habit of using a particular substance, like for example alcohol. You are having difficulties with that substance and you want to attain sobriety, and then at some moment you feel tempted to indulge in alcohol, what do? You resist the temptation, right? And then at the same time, in the background, you accept the resistance and the situation. So you can practice acceptance even when you are resisting appropriately. The pointers of ADVAITA that leads us into resting as consciousness, for example, or open awareness, these pointers from ADVAITA are very valuable and helpful. But sometimes, for whatever reason, if the mind is too restless or you are going through some issue, they may not work. When they don't work, go back to the basics. What is the basics? What we are talking about today. The basics is acceptance. So you can practice, for example, the pointer rest as awareness is excellent, or open awareness, or any other pointer, rest as the field. But when you find like a barrier that you can't go through, and simply the pointers are not working for you, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong. It means that your organism is going through something, your mind, that needs to be adjusted. In the meantime, go back to the basics. Practice acceptance. The foundation of ADVAITA is acceptance. Same as in the Bhakti tradition, the foundation of the Bhakti path is accepting the will of God as thy will. So you go back to basics, right? So how important it is what we are discussing now, acceptance? Acceptance leads to a state of peace. As I said a moment ago, your brain waves become more peaceful and you go into an alpha state and there is peace there. How valuable is that peace? Immensely valuable. Look, from the Advaita perspective, you don't even exist. There is just the divine looking through countless sentient beings, mind-body organisms. So the idea that there is somebody else here aside from consciousness is false, and it is. It's an illusion. But you can use that illusion in this sense, to understand this aspect of the spiritual path. The part of the work that you can do is to sustain as much as possible and learn to be in that state of peace. That is your part. The part of that illusory you, to stay in that peace. The rest is up to the divine to give you an experience in cosmic consciousness or in the void, a complete liberation from suffering. All these amazing realizations and goals of the spiritual path. Leave all that to the divine. Don't worry about that. Your work is to reach that state of peace. And then the divine bless you, and one day you have an experience in the emptiness. And you realize that everything is empty. Empty of what? Empty of self, of course. There is just consciousness looking through countless sentient beings. But don't try to do that. Your work is just to attain peace. Of course, to attain that peace can be valuable to wake up. And waking up is something that you can do more about it, which is to realize that there is only consciousness in the mind-body system and there is no you. So do you want to learn more about the art of acceptance? I leave you a link below that leads to the course in Psychology of Consciousness. That course will help you to learn more about many aspects of the ADVAITA path and the art of acceptance, which is the foundation